Since the introduction of the They Shall Not Pass content onto the Battlefield 1 CTE, it's been quite apparent that most of the people who've jumped on and given it a go, that the weapons we're due to get with this DLC when it drops in March are vastly different from the ones that we have currently. They challenge the preconceptions of the class they sit in, and they offer something new and refreshing to the gunplay when you use them. Now that's great, because even though you're playing the same game, suddenly the experience is a little bit different. I think there is one standout weapon, however, that really bucks the trend, and that is the Chauchat. Its many qualities all roll up into a weapon that is unlike any that I've ever used in a first-person shooter before, let alone in Battlefield 1. Now, if you know anything about the Chauchat in real life, and I'm assuming many of you do, you'll probably be aware that it's not a particularly reliable or effective weapon that was used during the war. The French, for reasons known only to themselves, left one of the sides of the magazine completely open, allowing mud and dust to get in there, clog it up, and stop it from firing. It also, by today's standards, fired stupidly slow, just 280 rounds a minute. That's even slower than the already slow M1909 machine gun, the Bennet-Mercier, that's in the game already. Now, that leaves much to be desired, and knowing that the weapon was notoriously unreliable and disliked, I was actually very interested to see what DICE were going to do with the weapon in the game. And I'm happy to report that while this is probably one of the weirdest weapons you can play with in Battlefield 1 right now, I also think it's one of the best weapons that you can use in the game right now. And when I say weird, I definitely mean good weird. I'm going to try and explain that to you now. First of all, this thing packs an absolute punch. All of the other weapons in the support class fire rounds that do 23 maximum damage, meaning you need to land at least 5 shots to take down a player, or 4 if you manage to hit an enemy in the head. The Chauchat breaks that mold, and it comes in with a 35 maximum damage. 35, you'd have to go back to the days of Battlefield 4 to see those kind of damage numbers, and my god does that power come in handy. DICE have taken the Chauchat's abysmal rate of fire of 280 rounds a minute, and they've bumped it to 360 rounds a minute. Now that might not sound like a very big jump at first, but then you need to consider what the Chauchat can actually do with that. 360 rounds a minute with a maximum damage of 35 per bullet makes the Chauchat the second most powerful machine gun in the game, beaten only by the BAR. Up close, you're able to drop single shot fire onto enemies because it's such a low rate of fire. You can tap fire this thing really, really well, and you can do a damage of 35 per hit, meaning you can theoretically take players down with just 3 bullets to the body and 2 bullets if you can land a headshot. That is unbelievably powerful. And in addition to that, if you've got the low weight version of the weapon equipped, which I ran with the entire time whilst I was playing, you have access to a bipod. 360 rounds a minute at medium range through a bipod is an extremely valuable option for you to have, and you can make use of it more often than you might think. On Fort de Vaux, one of the new maps coming in this DLC, it actually got plenty of destructible walls which break down to about knee height, and that's perfect for a crouched bipod. Plenty of long corridors that you can plant yourself at the end of and provide this suppressive covering fire for you and your team as they push up towards an objective. At medium to long range, the Chauchat's damage does drop off a little bit, and that's understandable, and in those situations, just as I mentioned, you're likely to be outside of that 3-shot kill zone. But you're still only going to need 4 shots out to 30 meters, and then 5 shots at longer range. So this thing does have a lot of killing potential. Something else that the Chauchat has got going for it is its magazine. That's right, its magazine. Now I'm sure you've heard, the Chauchat only has 20 rounds in each magazine, but let me explain to you why that is still a very good thing for this weapon. Each of those rounds in that magazine has a much higher damage than, say, the rounds coming out of a BAR or an MG15. And because you only need 3 to 5 shots to kill people, you can take out multiple players with just one magazine before you need to reload. Now, I've mentioned the BAR a few times in this video already. I think that's a weapon that this thing is most comparable to. And I think most amount of players that I can kill with a BAR with one magazine is probably 2, because it fires much faster, so there are some bullets that are likely to miss the target if you're not aiming correctly, and the bullets do far less damage overall, and that means you need more of them to kill someone. The Chauchat, in comparison, technically if you needed the maximum of 5 bullets to kill someone, and everyone was in that perfect range for you to kill everybody with 5 bullets, you theoretically could take down 4 players per magazine. That is some extreme power right there. And going back to the BAR very quickly, that's me considering that it's doing its maximum damage of 23. It could be doing less than that at certain ranges, and so sometimes even if you kill one person, you could be reloading, because if somebody's like 40 meters out, it does way less damage, and of course, the further somebody is away, the smaller the target is, the harder it is for you to be able to hit it. If it's then doing less damage as well, you might take 10, 12, 13, 14 bullets before you kill somebody with that weapon. The Chauchat has the ability to still be a very effective weapon even if its magazine is nearly empty, which is not something that many other automatic weapons in Battlefield 1 can do right now. See what I mean about this thing being a little bit different than some of the other weapons in this game? However, it isn't all sunshine and rainbows with the Chauchat in Battlefield 1. We do need to talk about some of its drawbacks. The first one, reload time. You can consider the Chauchat to be one of the more mobile options in the support class. Smaller magazine size, lower recoil values and whatnot, but to balance out some of that power, DICE has stepped in and dropped a 3.55 second long reload time. A long reload is activated if you've got no bullets left in the magazine and none in the chamber either. That thing is an absolute killer in close quarter situations. You're going to be wanting to use the Chauchat in medium to close range because that's where I think it is most effective, but you are going to be beaten out by some other players if they rush you, if you haven't got any bullets left in your magazine. If you do have some left and you choose to reload, that's still going to take you 2.9 seconds to get bullets back into your weapon. This thing is a support gun, it's not an SMG, so by design I think it is a more deliberate and methodical weapon, and ideally you want to be keeping your engagement ranges out to about 15 to 40 meters or so. You'll stand the best chance of staying alive and winning the gunfight that way, and you give yourself a little bit of time to get this thing reloaded properly. The second drawback, its ranged potential. The damage drop-off of the Chauchat is quite severe, and you'll be doing a minimum of 23 damage at long range, and with a weapon that only fires 360 rounds a minute, you'll be seeing a lot of gaps in between each bullet as they fly towards your target. Bullet velocity is pretty good, 720 meters a second. That means you shouldn't need to lead too much, but because of that slow rate of fire, you're going to need to be bang on point with the lead to be taking down players at longer range. As I said, keep your engagements between 15 and 40 meters, and you should be doing just fine. And finally, the minimum 23 damage of the Chauchat is the maximum damage of every other machine gun in Battlefield 1. This thing to me is definitely the best weapon now in the support class. So that's the Chauchat. All of these impressions come from the Battlefield 1 CTE, by the way, which is a test version of the game, so all of this is subject to change, and some of the stats of the weapon could end up being a little bit different before the release of the DLC in March sometime. Although I do doubt it will be far from what you're seeing in this video right now. Thanks very much for watching. Let me know what you think of the Chauchat down below in the comments section. Are you excited at the prospect of a new, different weapon coming to the support class? Or are you put off by its low rate of fire and magazine capacity? Let me know down in the comments. But until next time, My name is Westie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.